So today, lads, we're going to be talking a little bit about USC. And if you guys have not seen right here, like Avery Howell went into the transfer portal. And that was a video I made yesterday. 5-star freshman entering the transfer portal. There's another 5-star freshman. Kaylee Heckle has entered the transfer portal. And this is a team without Juju next year. I have no idea what's going to happen. I have no idea. Like, if I'm smart money, would say maybe Taniel Atson's coming. Maybe somebody's coming. But you had like, what was it? One of the number one, maybe number one, number two recruiting class in the country coming into this season. Kennedy Smith, superb. I really rate Kennedy Smith as a player. I think her defense is spectacular. I think her IQ is super high. I think offensively, maybe sometimes she can be an inconsistent shooter, but I think she'll get there on offense. I think Kennedy Smith's gonna be the best of all these. But Kaylee Heckle, I thought Kaylee Heckle against UConn, tried. She put her head down. She tried to get to the basket. She was like a live wire scorer. But now it's like Kaylee Heckle and Avery Howell have gone. Their two best offensive freshmen are gone. 2025 UNC men's basketball over. People tried to say Lindsay Gottlieb is a good coach. And we're going to talk a little bit about like Heckle. Don't understand USC exits. They would all be in top 10, maybe top 5 perimeter in basketball, even without Juju. Is only getting more chaotic each year. Like, genuinely, it doesn't make sense. But my theory about this is that you need to be a certain type of player to play beside Juju. And that's not a knock on Juju. You need to be a certain type of player to play around Caitlin, a certain type of player to play around Luca, a lot of the best players in the world. Unless you're like a Page where you're more so fitting into a system rather than being the system. And I think Juju Watkins, as much as anything, I think it's a very good argument to be made that Juju Watkins is the system. And that's not a bad thing at all. It's not a bad thing at all for Juju Watkins to be the system, because Juju Watkins is great. Absolutely elite. She was National Player of the Year for a reason. Freshman of the Year last year for a reason. So we've got all of that then. So we have to talk about why these guards might be leaving and why these players might be leaving. And I think the Lindsay Gottlieb offense has to be a part of that. Like, these players look bad in the Lindsay Gottlieb offense. And I'm not joking when I say this. I am not, as much as, like I always say, it's like, look, Juju's a much better defender. Because the comparison to Juju and Caitlin is always going to be a thing. Just, they're different players, but they're both exceptional. And I've always said, and I'm like, there's a Grand Canyon-sized gap in their offense. And now when I'm talking about that, I'm like, as of right now, there is, but I'm willing to, if she plays for anyone other than Lindsay Gottlieb, how much improvement that is going to be. Because Lindsay Gottlieb's offense, I'm not joking, was give the ball to Juju, watch Juju. If there's 5 seconds to go on the shot clock and you can't get a shot, maybe throw it to a shooter. Not always, maybe throw it to a shooter. Kiki crashed the offensive glass. Rhea Marshall crashed the offensive glass. And we even saw it with Rhea Marshall in the tournament. I didn't know she had this game. I didn't know she had any game, because her job was to play defense and watch Juju. Like, Kiki Riafen putting up serious stats, and she is the most overrated player in my opinion. I'm still seeing ESPN mocking her at number 2. Does Dominique Malonga not exist? Does she just not exist to ESPN because she's not American? But again, people making these lists don't watch basketball. And it is just one of those really tough ones, because you've got USC and you've got players obviously trying to play at this college, but you have to be a very specific player to play beside Juju. And I think that's really where the issues are coming from. Like, players like Kaylee Heckle, players like Avery Howell, their goal is to make the WNBA. And I understand, say, if you are going to a UConn, where you're still going to get yours, because especially in the regular season, maybe not so much in the tournament, they play what I will call equal opportunity basketball. Like, the way they play ball is we're just going to get good shots as a team. And you're going to get a lot of shots. You're going to get a lot of player movement. And obviously, when it comes to it, that is important. It's important at this player movement. It's important. It's ball movement. But for a lot of players, when you are not But if you're not in a system like that, like teams can succeed going through a high volume player. And like Juju Watkins has the lowest, pretty sure she's the lowest true shooting percentage in like 20 years for a national player of the year. And she's somebody that is, and I mean this, like is generational. So it's hard to play around that. And Caitlin was expected to be the point guard of future, or Heckle was supposed to be the point guard future with Von Olhoffen graduating. And I think it's smart. I do think it's smart, especially if that's what her goal is, to be in the WNBA, because she's a scoring guard. And the transfer portal, saying goodbye to this chapter isn't easy. While it's tough to leave, I'm excited for the future, new opportunities ahead. And I understand every bit of that. And I do, and I genuinely mean that. Like, I understand. I actually don't think USC is in that bad of a state. Like, I think a lot of people are kind of not jumping the gun, but like are trying to like almost, I'm just going to see just USC heckle on Twitter. I'm trying to almost talk about how, oh, no one wants to play with Juju. Like, I mean, they all originally did come to play with Juju, but I do think it's not an easy thing to do. And I think you need to be a specific type of player. Like, for example, even when it comes to Caitlin Clark, like, you're not going to be seeing, say, a Chelsea Gray jumping to play with Caitlin Clark. You're not going to see next year I'm trying to think of a high dribbling point guard. I can't off the top of my... An over dribbling point guard that's a starter. I actually have no idea, to be honest. But like Chelsea Gray is a prime example. It's why, like, if she's a free agent, you're not going to see her jumping with Caitlin Clark. You're not going to see a Aja Wilson just because of play style. She likes it to get the ball. If you are a high volume, not even high volume shooter, if you're a high volume usage rate player, you're not going to want to play with Caitlin Clark, and that's fine. And I think when it came to Avery Howell and it came to Kaylee Heckle, they're looking to hopefully end up, hopefully be in the WNBA. And obviously, look, it is the sophomore trio, but I will say Kenny Smith is the best of these three players. And the fact is that if they're going to try and make the WNBA, the watching Juju Watkins for another 2 years, and then maybe when Juju's gone, good things can happen. Especially because, again, USC are bringing in good recruiting classes. If that is your goal, unless you are at a UConn or a South Carolina, it is going to be very difficult to make the WNBA as a single-digit scorer, especially as a score-first player. And the problem is with the amount of players that are being brought through in these colleges, heck, they could be recruiting a replacement in the meantime. But because you have not cemented yourself as that starting player, as that star player, where she can go to a real good school and as a sophomore cement herself as a star player. Same with Avery Hell. And look, it makes sense. As much as I hate the transfer portal and I hate all this stuff, it actually does make sense from these players' point of view. And again, it's not a knock on Juju. Maybe it's a knock on Gottlieb's coaching, but that might be it. I don't think a lot of people are blaming Juju for this, just like they blamed Hidalgo in Notre Dame. Oh, highly unlikely. Highly unlikely. But anyway, I'll see you guys.